Good morning.
Good morning.
The freedom to find wisdom, especially in dealing with errant computers, right? Today we take, and there it goes again, today we take our fourth look at this month's theme, the freedom factor. Religious science founder Dr. Ernest Holmes wrote in The Science of Mind, "Freedom is the birthright of every living soul. Our inherent nature is forever seeking to express itself in terms of freedom. We do well to listen to this inner voice, for it tells us of a life wonderful in its scope, of a love beyond our fondest dreams, of a freedom which the soul craves." So what is this inner voice? It is our spiritual intelligence. It is the intelligence of spirit. What form does our spiritual intelligence take in us? It takes the form of wisdom. Today we're going to look at wisdom, and the Jewish Torah says, "Happy and free are those who find wisdom. Such is more precious than jewels, and nothing you desire can compare to her. Her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. Get wisdom, get insight, do not forget." What is wisdom? Well, first, let me say what wisdom is not. Not simply human intelligence or knowledge. Human intelligence is the ability to learn and to think clearly and logically. It is the ability to consider complex issues. These are important capacities. Of course, they are. But wisdom is more. Likewise, wisdom is more than knowledge. The Tao is very clear about that. He who is learned is not wise. Our world is awash with information, isn't it? And yet we are drowning in data. It's coming at us so much. Each day sees new discoveries, and a single newspaper tells more about the world than someone a few centuries ago learned in a lifetime. Think about that. We get more information in one day. Yet something is missing. Something is missing. We have knowledge aplenty, but wisdom? That's another story. A mere glance at the extent of the suffering and pain in this world, or the appearance of it, I'm going to say, makes it painfully clear that wisdom is in desperately short supply. Wisdom is essential, not only for sane lives and societies, but also for our spiritual awakening. So what is the difference between knowledge and wisdom? Knowledge is the acquisition of information, and wisdom is understanding it. Knowledge informs us, wisdom transforms us. Knowledge is something we have, and wisdom is something we must become. It becomes who we are. Knowledge is expressed in words, and wisdom is expressed in our lives. Knowledge empowers, wisdom empowers and enlightens. In fact, Buddhism claims one momentary glimpse of divine wisdom born of meditation is more precious than any amount of knowledge. Wow. Gaining wisdom is one of the practices that runs through all of the great religions. What is wisdom, and how do we awaken it? The dictionary definition of wisdom: understanding of what is true, right, or lasting. Here's a wonderful definition of wisdom: deep understanding and practical skill in the central issues of life. When we think of biblical figures who have wisdom, I think we immediately, most of us do, I think, we go back to King Solomon, who was, a very, very new king. And when he first started out, he asked God for wisdom. Not for riches or a long life or victory over his enemies. He asked for wisdom on how to rule and lead his people. And we probably all remember the incredible story of the two women who were in a heated dispute over the baby. Remember the story? Here's what Scripture says about that. "Now 2 women who were harlots came to the king and stood before him. And one woman said, 'Oh, my lord, this woman and I dwell in the same house, and I gave birth while she was in the house. And then it happened that on the 3rd day after I'd given birth, that this woman also gave birth. And we were together. No one was with us in the house except the 2 of us. And this woman's son died in the night because she lay on him. So she arose in the middle of the night and took my son from my side while my maidservant slept, and laid him in her bosom, and laid her dead child in my bosom. And when I rose in the morning to nurse my son, there he was dead. And when I examined him in the morning, indeed, he was not my son, whom I had borne. Then the other woman said, No, but the living one is my son, and the dead one is your son. And the first woman said, No, but the dead one is your son, and the living one is my son. Thus they spoke before the king. Then the king said, Bring me a sword. So they brought a sword before the king. And the king said, Divide the living child in two, and give half to one and half to the other. Then the woman whose son was living spoke to the king, for she yearned with compassion for her son. And she said, O Lord, give her the living child, and by no means kill him. But the other one said, Let him be neither mine nor hers, but divide him. So the king answered and said, Give the first woman the living child, and by no means kill him. She is his mother. Now that is wisdom. That is wisdom. He knew from her response. And here's an interesting aside. In Kings, where the story is relayed, we learn that because Solomon had asked for wisdom, he was given everything else. He was given everything else. Consistent with the idea of seek ye first the kingdom, and all shall be added unto you, isn't it? How do we awaken wisdom in us? Well, first, we must prepare ourselves for wisdom. Second, we must turn to sources of wisdom. So first, how do we prepare? How do we prepare ourselves for wisdom? We must open to it, just as Solomon was open to it. The importance of being open to receive wisdom is beautifully portrayed in a story. It's classic, and I've shared it often. In fact, I repeat it. Not only here, I share it often because it's a simple story, but very profound. And it's about a meeting of a knowledgeable professor and a wise Zen master. The professor introduced himself to the Zen master and announced that he would like to learn something of Zen. Ah, very good, said the Zen master. Please come in. After they were seated, the Zen master began by speaking about the vital importance of ethical living in Zen. Yes, interrupted the professor. Ethics is a fascinating topic, isn't it? I've studied several branches of it. In fact, I actually wrote a book on it. And he gathered speed and launched into a lecture on the various theories of ethics. I see, said the Zen master gently, when at last the professor stopped to draw a breath. In Zen, he continued, the correct motivation for saying or doing anything is very important, and so we must try to say only what is truly helpful. Well, said the professor, there are several theories that hold that view. However, I must say that I find each one of them flawed. And he promptly delivered a long lecture on the different theories of motivation. I see, said the Zen master when he finally got the professor to pause for a moment. Would you like some tea? He said. Why, yes, thank you, he replied. The Zen master smiled and poured until the professor's cup was full, poured until the tea filled the saucer, and continued pouring while the tea ran over the table. The professor, a man rarely lost for words, was stunned into silence. But when the hot tea started to pour into his lap, he leapt up and he yelled, Stop! Can you not see that the cup is full? I can't take any more. Why, yes, I can see that, smiled the Zen master. And can't you see that your mind is completely full of old ideas, and so you can't take in any new ones? Therefore, you cannot possibly learn about Zen. How many of us have our minds already made up and no room for any new ideas? If we're locked in our old beliefs, how can we be open to wisdom? One Christian text recommends the following reflection as a means of releasing old concepts and opening to the sacred. Listen to this as I read it slowly. Allow the words to work its healing effects. Let us be still an instant and forget all the things we have ever learned, all the thoughts we have had, and every preconception that we hold of what things mean and what their purpose is. Let us remember not our own ideas of what the world is for. Simply do this. Be still and lay aside all thoughts of what you are and what God is, all concepts you have learned about the world, all images you hold about yourself. Do not bring with you one thought the past has taught, nor one belief you ever learned before from anything. Forget this world, forget this course, and come with wholly empty hands unto your God. That's quoted from The Essential Spirituality. So on to number 2, turning to sources of wisdom. So once we ready ourselves, once we're prepared, where do we find wisdom? Eventually everywhere, in every person, in every situation and experience to which we bring an open, inquiring mind. Yet, although it's possible to learn from all people and all things, religious traditions especially recommend 5 sources. I want to look at 2 today, one briefly and one more in depth, but I'm going to tell you all 5 of them because I know you're just burning to know, right? You want to know what they all are. Okay, so the religious traditions advise us to seek wisdom, number 1, in nature. Isn't that a beautiful place to find wisdom? In silence and solitude. That's where our meditations come in. From the wise. In ourselves. And from reflecting on the nature of life and death. So, which 2 am I going to pick to talk about today? First, from the wise, and second, from ourselves. So from the wise, first in spiritual readings, read not for information. Read not for information. Read with the intent to gain wisdom. Read and reflect. Don't speed read, though. Second, take classes. That's where we bring all of what we talk about on Sunday mornings home, is in our classes. We offer classes and book studies here that really ground and bring home all about what we are all about. And the thing that's really good about that is that we get to have some really deep and interesting conversations and sharings. It's wonderful. Rich, Suzanne, you guys enjoy anything you want to say? Okay. I know, and Rod's been in lots and lots of classes too. So. Yeah. He's a practitioner, by the way, so definitely. Okay, third, recognize your teachers and their gifts. Seek the company of the wise. Surround yourself with wise people. Join an empowerment group, a mastermind group, a group of people in your profession who are a few steps ahead of you. Jack Canfield, we all know Jack Canfield, he tells a story of speaking with Tony Robbins once, and he said, "How is it, Tony, that you and I both do the same thing? We write books, we coach people to be more of who they thought they were, and we do the same thing, but you make many times more money than I do. Why is that?" Robbins responded by asking Canfield how much his 5 closest friends make. Canfield said, "About the same amount of money as I do." Robbins said, "And that is your problem. The 5 people I hang out with make at least twice the amount I do." Now, that's kind of a hard thing to even think about with Tony Robbins because he's pretty darn popular. The second source we're going to look at today is from ourselves. Do you know how brilliant and wise each of you really is? Do you know that? Do you have any idea the power that is available to you if you just breathe and allow yourself to receive it? Boy, we put up a lot of blocks, don't we? An Islamic sage once said, "Self-knowledge is the shortest road to the knowledge of God." Why would that be? Because we are the divine expression of God. As we get to know ourselves, we cannot help but know God. Lao Tzu wrote, "Knowledge studies others, wisdom is self-known." We have within us remarkable wisdom that will guide and help us if we learn how to recognize and draw on it. So, we're going to spend our final few moments here together this morning tapping into the wisdom that is already within you. It's there already. You don't have to put it there. You don't have to force it to be there or try to make it up or plan it. It is just there. Do you think that even a second before King Solomon said, "Let's cut the baby in half," that he knew that he was going to say that? I sincerely doubt it. But he had prayed for wisdom, and the wisdom was delivered when he needed it. When he needed it. So we are going to pray. We're going to do an affirmative prayer for wisdom. So please think of a situation in your life where you would like the ability to access your innate wisdom. Okay? Think about something. Maybe it's how to repair a computer. I don't know. Okay, everybody have something? All right, let's do our affirmative prayer. Let's just take a deep breath. And know that there is only one. I know that there is only one, and I speak my word for myself and for everyone, for there is only one mind. And I know that I am a divine expression of that one. I know that all of wisdom, all of the wisdom of spirit, lives within me and lives within all, and is available for each of us to use at the exact moment it is needed. I know that wisdom is revealed in the perfect time, in just the right moment, even if that moment is not right now. I know that all is well. I know it. I believe it, and I release it with a just tremendously grateful heart, because I know that it is already done in the mind of God. And so it is.